Hi everyone, Ellen Jaffe Jones here. I want to talk to you today about staying informed without feeling overwhelmed. Now, as a former TV investigative reporter in Miami and St. Louis, they're the two Emmys, trying to be informed with reliable sources and not reacting to it is maybe the greatest challenge of our lives right now. And it is hard to watch the news, no matter what source you get it from, and not feeling incredibly scared and what can I do as one person? And I became a reporter because I felt there was a lot I could do by exposing truth, justice, and the American way. That was why I got into it, was to try and help improve the world we live in. And I think a lot of us old cranky reporters kind of get to the last chapter of our lives and realize, did it make a difference? Is the world any better? Is it worse? And before you start jumping down those rabbit holes, sometimes the only thing we can do is to make a difference in our personal lives. And that's why I want to talk to you about some things, my top 5 things that I encourage you to do to stay informed, but just to kind of let it go once you realize there may not be anything you personally can do to save the world on a global scale. Personally, the first thing is to go to a place, and as you can see, I'm in one of my happy places inside, in the room where you feel most relaxed. Maybe it's your bedroom, maybe it's another room. In this room, we have our salt lamps by the fireplace, and this is my most favorite chair. It is a rocking chair, and I'm going to try really hard not to rock in it while I talk. And it is the chair that I breastfed my 3 daughters in. And as a Leche League leader, which is, if you don't know, the international organization, nonprofit that helps new mothers breastfeed their babies, because around the world the average age of weaning a baby is 4 years, and that means in some places they are breastfeeding until the kids are quite a bit older than the average age of weaning in the U.S., which is about 6 to 12 months, even though the American Academy of Pediatrics recommends you do it closer to a year, maybe even 2, because you can just Google that, but it really is the best thing for the baby and the mother, especially in preventing breast cancer in both the mother and the baby. And I got into breastfeeding because my mom and both sisters had breast cancer, and that was real stressful, being the youngest in my family, trying to figure out how do I avoid this. And so that's just one of many things I've done in my life to try and avoid that bad baby. But when you feel so overwhelmed by the headlines, sometimes just going into a place, into a chair that I will never give up, even if I have to live in a tent, I am taking this chair with me, because it just makes you feel relaxed. And with breastfeeding in particular, if you've done it as a woman, you know that there are 2 hormones, relaxin and oxytocin, that happen while you are breastfeeding to make you feel so relaxed. It's even called the letdown reflex, which makes the milk flow and just makes you feel like the world could be falling in, but I gotta take care of this baby. And nature, in her perfect wisdom, made sure that both mother and baby would, in theory, love this experience and keep coming back for more until it was time to call it quits. But even if you haven't breastfed, do not despair, because you can achieve these same feelings of euphoria and the endorphins of feeling so relaxed, either by meditating, and there are lots of different ways to do that, or one of our favorite ways is to have a pet. And the act of petting an animal, any animal, so it doesn't really matter whether it's a cat or a dog or a goat or a pig, they're all good. Just don't eat them, please. And it makes you release these great feelings of relaxation. The endorphins, relaxin, oxytocin, those 2 hormones kick in when you are in that state of relaxation. So I encourage you to find your happy place wherever it is, in a room like this. And if you can, get outside, get in nature. As I like to say, you can't call yourself an environmentalist unless you are outside observing what nature needs from us, which is basically benign neglect. Don't mess with Mother Nature, because she always wins. And often, when you get outside, don't just be looking down, look up. This morning, I was looking on the top of a tree and saw a hawk that was just sitting there. I never would have seen it. And in another tree, there was an eagle. And I never even knew that we had eagles in the area where we lived. And sure enough, bright white head, just sitting there as happy as a bird. When you look up, and there's even a song, one of my favorite songs in the whole world by Joy Oldacon, is called Look Up. And it's a great song. You can find it on YouTube and other places. And it's just important when you're outside to be present, to look up, to look down, all around, and take it all in. And when you are in the present moment, it will push those other stresses out of frame, hopefully. Recently, I went with my boyfriend and a couple of other friends that we are close to visit a relative who lives near Asheville, Asheville, North Carolina, and we decided we would go on a new trail using an app called Trails, and we didn't know anything about it and just started climbing. We had no idea. About a 3,000 feet climb, and the trail itself was the rootiest trail I have ever run or walked on. Now, I didn't even attempt to run on this because we got warned as we stopped in at the food co-op in Hendersonville, the closest largest city, by the cashier. Oh, people have died on that climb. Don't go to the top because even though you think it's a short distance and it's only another 200 feet up, it is the most treacherous, and when you get to the top, you can fall off. And so my boyfriend and I are going, yeah, right. Okay, this guy is really overreacting, overstating, but he wasn't. And sure enough, we got there after going very slowly up this rooty path and very treacherous path that it indeed was very sloped. And we had brought some food in a backpack, and we had a lovely vegan feast at the top. It was really a lot of fun. But if you misstepped, or if that slopey surface had been wet at all from the morning fog, for example, we could understand how you might have said goodbye to the planet as we know it. And that is Pumpkin, who says he cannot be left out here. He's coming to say hello. Hey, Pumpkin Pie. And of course, Princess, who's been sitting very calmly in front of me, can't be overshadowed here. So if we get a little rocky motion, it is the animals who are not understanding that we are doing a live recording. So there is Pumpkin Pie. And again, you can feel, and there's Princess sticking her head in. And I'm going to put them down because I don't really want claws in my thigh at the moment, but they're now getting along quite well, as they often do, and they just want to be included, as we all do. So that brings the point up that it's also important to be around people like my friends, like the animals, who make you feel good and and relaxed in nature. And once we got to the top of this mountain, it was an incredible panoramic view of the fall colors, and it was quite breathtaking, quite stunning. And we spent about a couple of hours up there and then decided to make the trek back down. And it was just as challenging to go back down. The others in our group thought we would be going a lot faster, but as it turned out, when you are going down at a 20, 40, 60 degree angle, you have to use your knees and your quadriceps and your thighs to make sure you've got the brakes on. And we did see a few people slip and slide, no serious injuries. In fact, the worst injury, and this is one of my other points here, is that obstacles are going to come your way. And as I leaned down to tie my shoelace, unbeknownst to me, I had stepped on the top part of a yellow jacket nest, and they didn't like that. And as we went up the trail, came down the trail, we heard other people talking about also being stung by yellow jackets. And I am 8 days out. You can't really see it, but it was in this area, and my whole knuckle was swollen, and I was in so much pain. And unfortunately, it happened in the first mile of what turned out to be almost a 10K, 6 miles, as we made 3 miles up and 3 miles down on this trail. And it was so painful. It was like getting a shot and the needle was not removed. And when you get an obstacle like this, sometimes you just have to use your brain and go, I am not going to let this ruin the trip, not only for myself, but for my 3 other friends who were along. I didn't want to turn around and have to make them do the same. And it was interesting because someone in the group said, I was in a relationship in the past, and we would have been in the emergency room by now. And, some people do have allergic reactions to bee and wasp stings. And at one point in time, as a child, I was stung by 5 wasps on this finger. And my mom took me to the pediatrician right away, and they said, oh, you're allergic. You really should carry around an EpiPen, which is something you would shoot yourself with to try and counteract the allergic reaction that stings can give. But I never got one of those and just said, eh. And is it mind over matter? I don't know. I just got back from a real estate convention, and one of the closing talks, if you will, was playing a clip from the Bob Newhart show, if you're old enough to remember that, or maybe you've seen some clips out there. And this Bob Newhart was a psychologist, and a woman came to him for a 5-minute consultation for $5, and he said, okay, what are we dealing with? Because that's all the money she wanted to pay. And she proceeded to list all these phobias that she had, and Bob Newhart at one point, fairly early on in the session, goes, just stop it, stop it, stop it. And he just gets really animated saying that. And she said, that's all? And he goes, yes. We have 3 minutes left. What else would you like to deal with? And she lists more phobias that she had, and he just kept saying, stop it, to her as his advice. Now, everybody in the audience laughed, and there are many conditions, especially ones related to post-traumatic stress syndrome that we can suffer from, and just saying stop it isn't usually enough to deal with some of the major issues and some of the things that we are seeing on TV or on YouTube or on social media, with the way especially that children are being traumatized by the atrocities that we humans inflict on each other through our inabilities to find a common language to get along. How we deal with this, and again, in this real estate convention I went to, the message that I have heard for so long that I think many of us have, but it's so hard to implement, is we can't change other people. We can only change how we react. And at the top of this mountain climb recently, and this will be my final piece of advice on how to deal with stress in an ever-changing, conflicting, angry world, is laughter. And it doesn't mean you laugh at someone, but I think it is an incredible stress release. And you have to look no further than my recent mountain climb, where we were taking pictures of each other. And because the top of the mountain was so sloped, probably about a 45-degree angle at some point, our friends took pictures of my boyfriend and I. And at one point, I was like a foot taller than he was, even though I was standing right next to him. And he changed that to a post that he would put on social media. And, he said, oh, you look so badass in this picture. You just look like you can take on the world. And then we changed it around where I was about waist high to him, because he's way taller than I am anyway. And at that point, we just started laughing so hard. And my friend captured the moment. And I was actually, maybe because we were at a high altitude, kind of losing my breath as I was laughing so much and just doubled over. It wasn't being doubled over in pain. It was because I just was trying to find enough oxygen, enough air to keep breathing and to laugh, because you do need a lot of air to laugh. And it also releases great hormones in the form of oxytocin. It's hard to find ways to laugh in today's world, but I encourage you to look at comedy channels or just find ways to tell jokes to each other. Reminisce is another way of just relaxing and trying to remember the good times. Although it is important not to live in the past, but definitely find ways to chill out and find a way to appreciate the world around us, and be sure to have gratitude in your life as much as you can, because just acknowledging the people and the world and nature around us is a way to make us chill out and just relax. Let me know below in your comments what kinds of concerns you're dealing with and how you are relaxing, because maybe it can help other people, and certainly that is another way of feeling good, is to try and reach out and help others who are struggling so much in today's world. If you found value in this and you'd like to see more, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll let you know the next time I've got one coming up. All right, everyone, have a great rest of the day, and thanks for watching. Gotta run.